We had monuments being pulled down. We saw Black Lives Matter kind of reemerge. We saw concepts being thrown around and like white privilege, white fragility, defunding the police. We've seen the issue of race being really weaponized, and now it's being used as a massive political tool. I'm just curious, what is the Larry Elder version of the past 4 months? Because you've been speaking about these issues for 10, 20, 30 years, but I mean, you know, this has been quite a year. And I'm curious, where do we begin to talk about this?
Well, the Larry Elder version of what happened the last 4 months is apparently facts don't matter. The real reason people are out in the streets rioting and protesting is because of the death of George Floyd. It was tragic. I don't know any cop, and I've interviewed a bunch of them, who defends the way George Floyd died. Nobody. That's what's so bizarre about this, Brian. It'd be one thing if half the country felt, okay, he got what he deserved, if a large number of officers were defending this tactic, but nobody is. So what's the point in going out on the streets and rioting when there's universal opinion that what happened to George Floyd ought not have happened the way it happened? But the other thing is, it's supposed to be a microcosm of how the police treat blacks. It is a representation of institutional police brutality. The problem with that argument is the facts just don't show it. If anything, the facts show that cops are more hesitant, more reluctant to use deadly force on a black suspect than on a white suspect. There is a black Harvard economist named Roland Fryer. He is so brilliant that he became the youngest tenured professor in the history of Harvard. Harvard is the oldest college in the country, so you know what a bad dude this guy must be. And he decided that he just knew that the police were using deadly force disproportionately against blacks because they were black. And he was surprised, Brian, that no one had done a study on this. So he decided to do a study on it to corroborate his feelings. And he was shocked. He said, they were the most surprising findings of my career. Not only were the police using deadly force disproportionately against black people, but they were more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger against a black suspect than a white suspect. The same thing was found in a study that was published in the National Association of Sciences, where researchers looked at every police shooting and killing in 2015, every police shooting and killing in 2016, and found exactly the same thing. It is simply not true. Now, the left believes a lot of stupid things that are not true, so what? This one has real world negative bad consequences. It causes young black men to falsely believe that the police are out to get them, and therefore when the police pull them over, they're going to be far more anxious, far more reluctant to cooperate, far more likely to be combative. It's understandable if you assume that the officer is going to do something bad to you. It also changes the behavior of the cops. They pull back. Heather McDonald of the Manhattan Institute refers to it as the Ferguson effect. A cop's afraid of being accused of being racist, so therefore they pull back. Bad guys know it. They're more likely in the street, more likely to commit crimes, and against the same people that the Black Lives Matter claim they care about, black people. And last year, nearly half of the homicide victims in this country were black, and almost all of them were killed by other black people. The instance of a white cop killing an unarmed black person is almost as rare as a black person being struck by lightning. It is absolutely rare for the cops to kill anybody, let alone a white cop killing a black person, let alone a white cop killing an unarmed black person. It almost never happens. And every single year, at least as many unarmed whites are killed by the police, if not more, but nobody seems to care about that. When it's an unarmed white person being killed by the cops, he's just a dead fly. You don't find Van Jones from CNN, you don't find Don Lemon from CNN, you don't find MSNBC coming in, nobody cares. Because the only thing that drives the narrative of racism being a major problem in this country is when a white cop kills a black suspect. Now, regarding this narrative about racism being a major problem in America, my goodness, racism has never been less significant an issue in America in 2020. How do you suppose Barack Obama got elected? This guy came out of nowhere, funny last name, from Hawaii for crying out loud. He takes down Hillary. He takes down John McCain. He runs for re-election. He beats Mitt Romney. He got a higher percentage of the white vote than John Kerry did 4 years earlier. And we're talking about institutional racism. It's maddening. And I blame a lot of this stuff, Brian, on Barack Obama. When Barack Obama got elected, the man that America thought they hired was a guy who was on 60 Minutes. When he was a senator running against Hillary, he wasn't even the front runner yet. And Steve Croft, the correspondent, said, Senator Obama, if you don't get the nomination, will it be because of your race? And Brian, I sat back and I said to myself, how is this man going to answer this question? Is he going to answer it the way Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton would, blaming racism? Or is he going to be a different kind of guy? And much to my surprise and pleasure, he said no. If I don't get the nomination, it will be because I have not shown a vision that the American people can embrace, end of quote. I sat back and I said, hallelujah. At least this guy is not what I call a victocrat. Not going to vote for him. I don't vote for tax, spend, regulate people, but at least he will change the debate about race. What happened? He got into office. The first time he had an opportunity to show what I just now said was when the Cambridge police briefly handcuffed his friend Skip Gates. For people that don't know the incident, let me kind of describe it quickly. A black man who happened to be a tenured Harvard professor named Skip Gates was on vacation, came back home, and forgot his door key. So he and a taxi driver broke into his own house. A neighbor saw this, called 911, didn't realize the house and Skip Gates belonged to each other. And the Cambridge police officer shows up and very politely sees a black man in the house and very politely asks him to come out and show ID. And instead of following instructions, Skip Gates copped an attitude and said something like, I'll come out if your mama tells me. And what did Obama say? Obama said the Cambridge police acted stupidly. No, they didn't. The Cambridge police did everything appropriate. The person who acted stupidly was Skip Gates. And what Obama could have said and should have said is, look, I had a very long conversation with my good friend Skip Gates. And I told him, and I'm telling you, he is a role model for crying out loud. He's a Harvard tenured professor. And with all of these interactions that young black men have with the cops, they could end very peacefully if the suspect simply cooperated. I told my friend Skip Gates, he did the opposite of what he should have done. And I'm telling you, I gave him the same advice. That would have changed the narrative. Instead, the Cambridge police acted stupidly. If I had a son, he would look like Trayvon after Trayvon Martin was killed in Florida. I'm not even sure what that means. And he even invoked Ferguson when he gave an address before the United Nations. You know, we have our own problems. There's a place called Ferguson. Well, Ferguson turned out to be a lie. Michael Brown, the suspect who was shot and killed by the white police officer, did not have his hands up, did not say don't shoot. And the DOJ found, however, that the Ferguson PD was institutionally racist. Here was their stat. The city of Ferguson, 67% black. The percentage of those stopped by traffic stops who were black, 85%. Therefore, 18-point gap, ergo, Ferguson is institutionally racist. The problem with that is you are ignoring behavior. In 2013, the Obama DOJ put out a study called Race and Traffic Stops, and they said that it is true that blacks are disproportionately stopped by cops for traffic stops compared to whites. It is also true that blacks disproportionately offend, whether it's speeding, driving without a license, driving without a headlight, driving without a proper tag, you name the offense, a black motorist was more likely to commit it. And the DOJ said that the reason for the differences have to do with legitimate variables. And also look at New York City. If the Ferguson PD is racist, what is the NYPD? It turns out New York City is about 25% black. However, the percentage of blacks who are pulled over in traffic stops are about 55% of all traffic stops. That's a 30-point gap. However, the NYPD, the majority of NYPD cops are women and minorities. And the city represents, the NYPD represents its city in terms of its demographics. So if the Cambridge police, if the Ferguson PD is institutionally racist because of the 18-point gap, why isn't the NYPD even more racist because of a 30-point gap? You can't do it that way. You have to look at behavior. And unfortunately, black motorists commit more crimes than do white motorists. One more thing about the white motorist thing. In New Jersey some years ago, the New Jersey troopers were accused of racially profiling black motorists on the New Jersey Turnpike.